Get started here. Welcome, welcome to Prompting for Beginners. If you are watching this on, or I should say as a recording, please go ahead and put your questions into your comments and we will circle back and answer them, even if it's a day late. Those of you here live, you can type your questions into the live chat and we will help you out. Generally, this class is about prompt adherence, but today we're going to talk about style exploration. And we can veer into talking about prompt adherence as needed. If there's anyone here who has questions along those lines. So welcome everyone. I'm glad you could make it today, whatever else you had going on. For the next hour or so, we will dive into the basics of prompting for style exploration. Sadie says, interesting. Glad I'm here today because yay aesthetics. Agree, yay aesthetics. I think that's really Midjourney's edge over other image generators. There are many in the market today. There are many tools that let you generate images, that let you generate video. So what is Midjourney doing in this marketplace? How does it compete? If Sadie says, oh my God, definitely, yeah, no one even comes close to Midjourney's beauty potential. That's right. In fact, Midjourney's beauty potential is so in demand that Meta, which is a pretty big player, licensed chunks of Midjourney's aesthetics engine in order to make sure that it could create it for its vibes video product. Meta wanted to make sure that it had some sort of differentiator for itself, for its video tool, and licensed Midjourney in order to create that aesthetic edge. So that is definitely Midjourney's strength. Certainly, perhaps exceeding Midjourney's ability to display prompt adherence. Prompt adherence meaning that it obeys the prompt. So if you say, a hedgehog and a llama have a picnic, that your hedgehog and your llama are distinct creatures, and the picnic looks like a picnic. And, if you said the llama's on the left, it's on the left, like all that sort of, some people call it obedience to the prompt, but the technical term is adherence. That is not Midjourney's strength. It's possible, and we do have a class devoted entirely to struggling for that prompt adherence. But what we'll cover today when we get started in just a minute will be more about the aesthetic side. If Sadie says, that's important, adherence is super important, but I'm with you that the aesthetic style is at least as interesting to explore and utilize. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Sadie. That's completely true. Okay. So, welcome. If you are able to find your chat, it should be the speech bubble icon It might be in the upper right of your screen. It might be to the right of the word prompt craft, where for the channel that you're in. Um, and uh, when you click that speech bubble icon, it will open, if you're on the desktop, that is, it'll open a column on the far right, which becomes your chat space. So please say hello. How long have you been using Midjourney? Days, weeks, months, years? Hi, Gray. Started within the last 2 weeks. Excellent. And Grayson, what do you find that you're doing most often with Midjourney? Do you just to sort of explore and see what's going on here with styles and aesthetics, or are you trying to make something quite specific? Sadie says, "Old newbie here, been around a while, but always learning new things. Still feel new every day, for sure, for sure." Me too. I mean, it Midjourney's just always evolving. Just every few months, there's something new. The entire industry is evolving. There's always something new. So, Gray and it's Sadie, you guys are the only ones chatting with me. It's Sadie. What about you? I asked Grayson whether he's more into exploration or making something specific. What about you? I would say I'm 50-50. I do a little bit of both. Sadie says, for me, I'm all about exploration right now. Excellent. You're in the right place. Things are too exciting to not just poke at all the things, says Sadie. Absolutely. Uh, Buttered Toast with Jam says they've been around for over a year. Buttered Toast with Jam, tell me about whether you feel like you spend more of your time just exploring different styles and aesthetics and things, or do you find that you are more often making something quite specific? Grayson says, right now I'm exploring Midjourney a lot and learning the tools. Excellent. You are also in the right place. There are uh, two versions of this class, Grayson. You have stumbled into the one that's mainly about style. And there's another version that's mainly about what's called prompt adherence, which is making your prompt sort of listen to you. So at some point, I'll update the calendar to show which one is which, so you can join the one you intend to join. But this is a pilot of the style version. Butter Toasted Jam, who's over here on Twitch, says they do both. They do both. Okay, so I've heard from 3 of you. That's good. There are Sadie says, Grayson, you should also come to the other version of this class too, because it is super helpful for learning tool uses for getting your prompt to match what images you get. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, as I've been saying, today is about exploring aesthetics. We'll be exploring tools that basically blend styles to change the expression of our prompt. So, you've all written prompts before. Is there anyone here who has never written a prompt? Grayson, you've written a couple. Sadie's written some. We have a couple, 2, 3 other people. I just don't wanna skip it if there's somebody who actually doesn't know how to write a prompt at all. I've also been using it to help mock up ideas for my photography, says Grayson. Amazing. So, Grayson, you mean like messing around a little bit with composition and subjects and so on to decide what you might want to ultimately photograph? Yep, yep, he says. Okay, very cool. So the first thing I want to teach then, the first thing you should know on our exploring aesthetics journey is what are styles? What does it mean when I use this word style? We're used to taking an image and applying a filter that changes how it looks because we're used to Photoshop filters and Instagram filters, and we're used to, uh, gosh, what else does filters? Everything does filters, right? We do have something that's a little bit like a filter, and that's called retexture. But that's sort of another story for another time. The styles we work with most often in Midjourney are actually more like configurations. They configure the way Midjourney will express your prompt visually. So, for example, one style might express the word bird as a robin, and another might express the same word bird as a flamingo, and another might express bird as a penguin. So they're beyond filters. They do change um, color and texture and so on, but they're actually an entire configuration for how Midjourney is going to express the prompt. Um, so here's a fun multiple choice question to see if what I've said is sufficient to express what a style is. So in Midjourney, what is the most precise reason a style is not the same as a filter? A filter only alters lighting and contrast, but a style changes subject matter and viewpoint. B, a filter acts after generation, but a style configures the model's output behavior from the start. C, styles apply color correction using machine learning. Or D, filters are parameters, but styles are random. What is the best answer out of these to describe what is a style versus a filter? It's Sadie thinks B. Kirk Bear says B. Welcome, Kirk Bear. Grayson, what do you think? Buttered toast, what do you think? Grayson thinks A. Grayson, as a photographer, is definitely interested in A, but that was a distractor. A filter only alters lighting and contrast, but style changes subject matter and viewpoint. Style does change subject matter and viewpoint, Grayson, you're right. But style also alters lighting and contrast. Yeah, yeah, you guys are all over it. B is the more correct answer. B is the most specific answer. A filter acts after generation. A filter acts on the picture you've given it. But a style configures the model's output behavior from the start. A style actually decides what is drawn. It doesn't act on something after it is drawn. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Tamara? Right. So a style does everything a filter does, but it also does it from the start. It doesn't act on an existing picture. Yeah, yeah, buttered toast got confused between B and A too. Good. That's the thing that I wanted to make most clear. It's maybe so is it like a dynamic filter? I mean, like, is it doing filter type things, but doing it live and in living color? Um, no, because filters are, if you think of what a filter is, it's like something between the picture and your eyeball. So, like, imagine a colored plastic gel that you put between your eye and a picture. That colored plastic gel cannot change uh, a flamingo into a penguin. It just changes the color of the flamingo or the texture of the flamingo or the edges of the flamingo or right. But a style is acting upon the generation of the image in the first place. And Sadie says, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, definitely different than traditional filter tools. Absolutely. Absolutely. But even before we decide on the unique expressions of our prompts, we do have to establish, like, first of all, the very foundation of the image, which I'm going to term coherency. So that's the second thing to think about. Um, now that we know what styles are, let's concern ourselves with the foundation, which is coherency. What is coherency? Coherency is the visual sanity of the image. Coherency refers to how well the visual elements in an image make consistent, plausible sense together. Think of coherency as the image's internal logic. Are the limbs attached properly? Does the light source match the shadows? Are the glasses actually on the face and not just hovering nearby? So we generally want the rules of coherency in play, right? We find coherency desirable generally because we want our images to make visual sense. Um, in fact, if you guys have been playing with Midjourney for a while, one of the things you might notice is that Midjourney is often incoherent, even without our help. For example, if I just do this prompt here, 3 acrobats do cartwheels on the beach. You can see that Midjourney really struggles with coherency. Do you see how this doesn't make any visual sense? Right. And Sadie says, ah ha ha. Yeah, oh dear, legs everywhere. Yeah, there's just no helping it. This is a very simple prompt. Midjourney cannot get coherency. This actually isn't bad compared to the others. I mean, they kind of have club feet. It's a little bit confusing, but it's not as bad as some of the others. This is just painful to look at. You and Midjourney, where do I want the legs to be? Midjourney, yes. Oh my God, this guy needs a hospital. So this is problems with coherence, right? Um, but at the same time, as aesthetic explorers, we might actually want to throw coherency out the window for some of our projects, for all I know. So let's look at how to increase and decrease coherency next. So we have something called the default house style. The default house style. The default house style is the primary control for coherency. And the parameter is S, which stands for stylize. And the values can be 1 to 1,000. So the default house style contains the primary rules for coherency. It's always in play. You can never fully remove it. You can reduce it. You can get it somewhat out of the way by reducing the value of stylize, but you can never reduce it to 0. because without it, the images would just be meaningless visual chaos. And maximizing stylize will help Midjourney reach for coherence. It helps Midjourney create a commitment to coherence, but it doesn't get anywhere close to guaranteeing it. No matter what value of stylize I use for the Acrobats prompt, it will never look right. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here I'm putting 3 acrobats do cartwheels on the beach on maximizing stylize, which I've just told you controls coherence. But it doesn't control just coherence, it controls aesthetics. So you can see these pictures are trying to be more aesthetic, but Midjourney cannot create more coherence. You see there's still multiple legs and so on. So they're more beautiful, but this one isn't so bad. They're more beautiful, but they're not necessarily more coherent. It does increase coherence, but it does not solve for coherence. There are prompts that are coherent right out of the gate. Here's a white kitten sleeps on a Persian rug. Unlike the acrobats, it needs no help. And if I maximize stylize, it just gets more pretty. The coherency doesn't change. See how it changed the framing and composition? I think the default, I mean, I don't know. This is very sad, but if you've ever seen a kitten that is sick or dead, that's what this looks like to me, to be honest. And when I increase stylize, animals tighten up. Their limbs look more placed like the cat is alive. That might just be my personal experience with animals, that I see the difference. Many people do not see a difference. But so for me, stylize is increasing coherence here. For others, it's just increasing the beauty factor. There are so many variables in play that mess up coherence, and just as many that help it along. We do have another class focusing on prompt adherence that covers those guidelines. But here we're going to focus on style exploration, right? So stylize for us is more about the house style, the aesthetics. We're not going to worry about whether the acrobats make visual sense, right? We're going to focus on how they're visually expressed. Sadie says, now I like it sometimes when there's less coherence, like when I'm just exploring and seeing what beautiful things Midjourney can do, or like when I need new ideas and having less attention on coherency is actually useful. That's right. If you're doing something quite abstract, then the concept of coherence becomes less sort of necessary. The acrobats have a particular look. A kitten has a particular look. But if I was just doing fireworks or, mandala motif or something like this, then I might be less concerned with visual correctness. So I've talked about this house style. If Midjourney were a restaurant, we could say it offers house wines, right? Like, this is our house red and this is our house white. Stuff that Midjourney has configured for you. So let's talk about house styles, the styles you get free right out of the box. The default house style we talked about, which is kind of the foundational vehicle for aesthetics and coherency. But there's also EXP, weird, and raw. So that foundational style, the default, came from community ranking. Community ranking, we have what's called ranking parties, right? When we're developing a new version of Midjourney, we ask everyone to rank, or we take a snapshot of the ranking, and that determines the popular house aesthetic. And the other house styles sort of play off of that. Fancy says, I do not understand what weird is. Never have. I would love to get it about weird and how to use it. Well, let's see if this helps. So it's Sadie, if the default, the one that has no name, right? We can't name it because it's always there. If the default is the mainstream aesthetic, let's talk about EXP first. EXP might be thought of as like the maximally trendy aesthetic. So EXP maximizes the trendy aesthetic look. Whatever that, you can think of it as whatever the popular mainstream house aesthetic is, turn it up to 11, and that's EXP. Yes, Gusta Nova, this is recorded. And if you fill out our feedback form, which I'll put in your local chat here, we will send you a digital freebie that contains some of the information using the feedback book. So EXP, Midjourney named EXP, quote, experimental. But if you want to remember what it does, try thinking of it as the EXP stands for expressive, or sometimes I think of it as extra please. The extra please aesthetic for maximally trendy. Let's take a look at the kitten on the rug so you can see what I'm talking about. This is with the default mainstream style at its maximum. This is the maximally trendy style at its maximum. Oh man, it's like a kitten on a rug plus 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 plus. You can see a certain kind of prettiness. A certain kind of prettiness, not necessarily to your taste, but to someone's taste, is maximalized. Suddenly it's the most trendy cat with the most trendy patterns, with the most trendy look, right? It's totally maximalized. It doesn't really help coherence. I mean, if I went and grabbed the Acrobat prompt and made it max extra please, what I get is just extra pretty acrobats, but they wouldn't necessarily be any more coherent. They're just hunkier. they're just hunky acrobats now because I said extra please. And of course you can blend the two. You can say, I want my EXP at max, and I also want the house style at max, the default style at max. So I'm getting the maximum mainstream aesthetics with the maximum coherency and the maximum extra please aesthetic. And as you can see, it doesn't help coherency, but it does make some really interesting pictures. We can do the same thing with the kitten. These are ridiculous. What is even going on here? It's like Blue Man Group or something. That is almost coherent. Almost. You can see that when you maximize stylize, you start getting clones because it's saying what is the mainstream, most popular, most trendy aesthetic for guys, and it's a hunky blonde. So they all become hunky blondes. You know, here's another one. They're all hunky blondes. And apparently Persian kittens are very popular. Now, as the community keeps ranking, do these things change dynamically over time? No, they're snapshots of what it was at the time of release. So if people keep ranking and they keep ranking calico kittens, um, we wouldn't see that change until the release of version 8, for example, when they take another snapshot. So whatever was in when version 7 was released is affecting these pictures. If Sadie says, does the EXP style interact or interplay with the stylized setting at all? They're blending. Yeah, they're blending. If EXP is high and stylized low, does that produce different than both high and both lower? Yeah, of course. So if I take stylized down to minimum, I'll do the opposite as well. I'll take EXP down to minimum and stylize up to maximum. Oh no, more dead kittens. Why? Because stylize is at 0. So coherency is way down. So the kittens are not really positioned or anything. Here's stylized way up, but EXP way down. You can see the kittens are sort of holding their limbs as a little tighter looking. Now, what the difference is between these two things is subjective. I'm trying to call out what the difference is. Like, oh, look at the patterns, look at what your eyes are seeing and what you decide is the difference is what the difference will be for you. Because these are artistic interpretations. So if Kirk Bear looks at these and says, oh, it's what I see most different is the saturation. For me, what's most different is every time you use EXP, it turns blue. And when you don't use EXP, it stays red, right? That might be like this blue grayness that EXP does might be the most important thing EXP does for you and for the work you're doing and for your project. And the fact that stylized tends to bring in red might be the thing. And you might be saying, oh, okay, so it's a blue shift and a red shift. Got it. You know, and somebody else might say, well, that's not the difference. The difference is depth of field. Don't fight because you're both right. You guys can decide for yourselves what this tool is doing for you. For me, the EXP is adding extra detail and ornamentation, right? And for me, for Gonzalez, on the other hand, it's doing something else. And we'd both be right. So that was going over, that was going over EXP. I'll paste that in again in case you guys are taking notes. I'll call it a maximally trendy aesthetic. So if experimental shows us the maximally trendy look, weird might be thought of as the minimally trendy look, or the inverse of trendy, the look that rejects everything the community made popular. So you can use weird 1 through 3,000 for a minimally trendy look. It's almost like the inverse of EXP. It's moving away from what the community ranked as good looking. They need someone else in charge of naming their tools. We've had that conversation with them before. So here's a white kitten sleeps on a Persian rug with weird maximalized. Now, all this tells us is that nobody really voted this look Nobody thought this look was great. It wasn't raked up very often. So these are compositions, and remember, they're not filters. So they're interpretations of the prompt that were less popular. And I can blend it. I can actually put the most popular with the least popular. This is EXP maximized and weird maximized. Fascinating. And then I can also maximize stylize. I mean, what you think of these, what you decide these are doing for you you'll become fluent in what these are doing for you. You may not never really be able to put your finger on it, or your wing in my case, but you'll be able to decide, oh, I really like adding weird because it just a little touch of weird, a little feather touch of weird, um, makes my image more compelling. Like, let me just put a weird of 10 in here. Just the feather touch of weird, but with a high stylize. So I said, max my house coherency, max my house aesthetic. Also, a tiny touch of a different kind of composition or whatever. So, I mean, you can start playing with it, and you develop your own fluency with these tools. Um, we can also feels like the kid who mixes all types of drinks at McDonald's, says Gustanova. It does, right? You ask, but Sadie says, ha ha, Gusta. But I bet if you ask that kid what he tastes, he'd be able to tell you exactly why he likes it. Yeah. We start to know. We start to know. So a lot of people are like, what does it do? Clarinet, just tell me, what does it do? How do I use it? The only thing I can tell you about these two things is is that it definitely does something. And I can tell you in what direction those things are taking us, right? But ultimately, your own fluency with that tool helps you decide how you want to use it. Is there anyone here who uses EXP or Weird and uses it with a certain function in mind? Johnny, for example, might be able to say, well, I use Weird for this purpose. I use EXP for this purpose. Myself, I use Weird to, if I want to sort of shake up the aesthetic a little. Like if I'm getting a little bored of Midjourney's default look, I might throw in EXP and Weird or one or the other or both, in order to sort of shake it up a little bit. Johnny says, Weird helps with unusual requests like a one-legged blue cow. Let's look at that. A one-legged blue cow specifically? So if I put Weird in there, oh yeah, look at that. He's holding up his leg. Whereas if I maximize the house style, which is the opposite, excuse me, EXP. Do any of them get a one-legged blue cow? Certainly this one comes closest. It understands there's something about one leg that's important. Maximum stylize doesn't do anything. to help us at all, except that they're hermaphrodite cows. And why not? And EXP does the maximally trendy look for the blue cow. See the difference between the mainstream aesthetic and the trendy aesthetic. So your brain right now is deciding, in the privacy of your own mind, what these things are doing. And whatever you're deciding is right. I do agree that a cow with a lone leg, with one lone leg, um, is seems like we're getting further with weird. Look at this one. Definitely understands there's something about legs going on. Look, this one has an artificial leg. Amazing. It's got a bovinoid with one lone leg. Get the word cow out of there. Oh, fascinating. So there you go. People become fluent um in these tools, in these parameters, in these tools, and decide what they want to how they're going to use it. Um, we can also minimize Midjourney's aesthetic input altogether, which is helpful. We can explore raw, which does as close to nothing as is feasible without losing coherency. It does as close to nothing as is feasible without losing coherency. So it's kind of skinny Midjourney. It says, look, Midjourney, just worry about keeping this visually sane, but please stop after that. Please just stop. And it's called raw because the default output of Midjourney is like really ugly photography. Midjourney outputs a raw photograph, right? And then it applies all its internal aesthetic rules guided by our prompt, and it's blended with the style parameters we're using. So using this style raw is like asking Midjourney to sort of just get out of the way. So raw pairs really well with prompts that carry style information, because when Midjourney's internal guidance is minimized, when it's spending less time implying its internal rules, then the guidance in the prompt is given more time, more cycles. So here's a question to you. What is Midjourney's default output? Before anything happens, what is Midjourney producing in its most raw form? A photograph. It's producing photography in its most raw form. Very good, Sadie. So when I say a white kitten sleeps on a Persian rug raw, I get photography and low coherence. So if I want to minimize, if I want to turn Midjourney as close to off as possible, then I can do raw and S1. And that is now the closest to Midjourney's raw output. Now, why is this useful? Again, we're running a job on Midjourney, and a job takes a set amount of time. In fact, we buy minutes, right? So we get a certain amount of time to run our job, and a lot of that time is spent on instead of spending it on our prompt, it's spent on the aesthetics. That's really, really helpful when we're doing exploration of Midjourney's aesthetics. But when we want the aesthetics to be controlled by the prompt, like if I want to say a white kitten sleeps on a Persian rug in the style of flat vector clip art, then getting Midjourney out of the way gives a lot of power to my prompt to control the style itself. So my prompt has plenty of time here. Whereas if I ask for that and I maximize stylize, it's likely that it's possible that now my prompt is being blended with a maximal stylize. Do I get my flat vector clip art? Nope. See what I'm saying? I literally got my flat vector clip art because I got Midjourney out of the way. I said, look, I want to be responsible. I want to be responsible for the style, please. Me, my prompt, I'm the artist. So I'm turning Midjourney as close to off as possible. I'm saying style raw, stylize one, just listen to my prompt, please. Now, what gets sacrificed is possibly coherency. So then I might say, okay, I don't want to make my stylize nothing. I might bring my stylize a little bit up. I might find the sweet spot where it listens to my prompt and it's coherent. This is a nice compromise, 33. So I'm getting a little bit of benefit from stylize, the coherency and aesthetics, but it is still listening to my prompt for style. So that's one of the purposes of style raw. Yeah, Johnny, how do you use raw? It's Sadie, how do you use raw? Mr. Shoney, promptogram? Mr. Nova says, as a product developer, should I use raw when trying to get a visual that follows a specific brand aesthetic? For example, the cup designed by Bose. You can explore that. I'll give you a better method for that in just a second, but it wouldn't hurt. Depending on what the object is, like if it's a cup versus a shoe versus a toy, raw will or will not help. So I can't give you, Gusa, I can't give you a blanket rule, because the subject of your picture affects how these things work. Kurt, I'm glad to hear this is helpful. Butter Toast said, I've never tried Weird 3000 before. It's a trip. Sadie says, when I'm building a starting image, raw works great. Get out of my way, Midjourney. Just give me XYZ. Yeah. Johnny says, I usually use raw in hope of an adherence boost. Exactly. We're exploring style in this class, so I'm demonstrating how raw can be used so that you can control the style with your prompt. You'll even get, a lot of people think, hey, if I want a photograph, should I use raw? No. Raw isn't better at making photographs. It's just better at not changing photographs into other things. If you want really pretty photography, you still want to look at specifying photography in the prompt, and playing with stylize and EXP and so on, and weird to get it where you want. But the best photography isn't made by raw. Raw doesn't have any instructions in it to make better photography. It's just that if your prompt asks for photography, just like if it asks for anything, your prompt will be obeyed. So let me ask this. Are there any questions about EXP Weird, Raw, or Stylized? EXP Weird, Raw, Stylized. Before we move on. If you have no questions, type NQ or no questions. If you do have a question, feel free to throw it in there. Okay, no questions, no questions, no questions. Okay. So in addition to the house styles, which we've just kind of gone over, Midjourney invites you to bring in aesthetics from other sources. And this is where Gusta Nova might be interested if you're trying to follow a specific brand aesthetic. You can bring in styles from out in the world. You can also bring in styles from Midjourney's own exploration tool. So let's talk about that next. Paste this in. So you can bring in existing styles with image prompts and style references. What is an image prompt? An image prompt is a visual input provided to Midjourney by including a direct image URL at the start of a prompt. An image prompt is a visual input provided to Midjourney by including a direct image URL at the start of the prompt. So it allows the model to extract and incorporate visual information from the referenced image. It's going to grab composition, color palette, form, content. It's going to incorporate that into the generation process. And the influence of the image on the final result can be adjusted with the optional image weight parameter, IW. So what does that look like in practice? If you are using the web, as you can see on my shared screen here, you'll notice that there is an Add Images button on the left. Image prompts is one of the reasons why this feature exists. Now I have a ton of different things already uploaded here. And if I want to copy the composition of something, I might drag it to image prompt, as you saw just there. It might be that I have an image from an outside source. Let me just grab a picture of a mom. Like this one. And then I could copy the image address and I'll paste it in the address bar. So I want to make sure that it goes directly to the image. And if I have a URL, I mean, I could just upload it here, but alternately, I can just paste the URL in and it auto adds it to image prompts. And again, the image prompt is going to grab composition and content and color and form. So if I say 3 dogs as my prompt, and my image prompt is this lady and her 2 kids, and she's a flat vector, then it should copy or take inspiration from this and give me a similar composition and style. So you can see how it's taking inspiration from this. Now, I made the mistake of not using the same aspect ratio. Image prompts are very aspect ratio sensitive because they are whoops, starting frame. No. Image prompt, yes. Because they are picking up on composition. So Gustav, if you're bringing in an image prompt of a product, one of the things you want to do is make sure that the aspect ratio of the input and the output are the same. So this input is 1:1. So I'm putting my options on square here. And now I'll do 3 dogs again. Okay, you can see it striving. You see how it put the hearts because it got the content. It got the you see how even though I said 3 dogs, it put a girl or a person because of it's grabbing the content. You see how the persons are wearing the same colored shirts, the red shirt. So it's picking up content, it's picking up colors, it's picking up composition. And I can get I can increase the weight, image weight, all the way up to 3. And when I do that, it sort of maximizes. Do you see how now 3 dogs is actually weaker than the image prompt itself? So image prompts are very powerful and very strange. They're great for. I usually talk about them in terms of composition. You can help guide a composition if you want, 3 figures clustered together, surrounded by hearts. You can use your image prompt to sort of suggest that while striving to change the subject away from the woman and her 2 kids to dogs. It looks like I'd have to do a little bit more work. Dog on the left is a Cocker Spaniel. And, the dog in the middle is a collie. The dog on the right is a sheepdog. Trying to see if my prompt takes up more time. Do I get better dogs? I sure don't. So I have to drop my IW. What if I take it just a little bit over default? Oh, better. What if I take it to default? What if I take it to half the default? There you go. See how it's still got the hearts and it's still got the basic composition? But it's using my prompt a little bit more. Not as much as I would like. I did say maybe I need to say an English sheepdog. Gustanova says, could I use this to visualize sketches? Sure. Or will Midjourney just follow the lines and not the whole image? It will follow the composition, it'll follow the content, it'll follow the colors, it'll grab as much as it can. And as you can see, the more time I spend, there we go. That's exactly what I asked for. The more time I spend in the prompt, the the more the clearer Midjourney is about what to change or how to blend it. You'll learn more about prompting like this in the prompt adherence version of this class. So again, the image prompt is a visual input provided to Midjourney by including a direct image URL at the start of the prompt, or as you saw, selecting it, uploading it and selecting it from your library of uploaded images. The model will extract and incorporate visual information from it: composition, color palette, form, content. It'll blend that into the generation process. And then the influence can be the slider, if you will, the left to right slider from less to greater is between 1 and 3. And it goes at 0.5 increments. So you can do 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. Any questions about image prompts? If you have no questions, type NQ or no question. Oh, great, Grayson. All right. See a bunch of no questions. Thanks, Buttered Toast. All right. So let's then talk about style reference. Style reference is a Midjourney parameter that allows us to influence the stylistic rendering of a new image generation, right, by referencing the visual style of something else. By referencing the visual style of an image represented by a URL, or even a Midjourney style code. So what it does is very different from image prompt. It's importing stylistic traits, visual style traits only. Color palette, lighting, brushwork, texture, visual tone, not subject matter, not content, not composition, not structure. So the reference images are specified via direct URLs or codes, and we can also do a random to generate a new code. So let's look at how that works. So what if I used that image, copy image address. I'm going to paste it in, and notice it put it as an image prompt. I'm going to pick it up and drag it to style reference. Now I don't have to I can go back to my 16:9 if I want to. I don't have to worry about it because I'm not picking up composition anymore. So I don't have to sweat that. But now I can say 3 dogs and see what part of the style it picks up. So notice it didn't pick up the content. That didn't put hearts anymore. In fact, in the back it put a city. It just picked up the style and the colors. It's using the colors, but not the composition. Notice that in this one, there was always a tall dog with 2 small dogs because of the compositional thing it's picking up, and it was surrounded by hearts. In this one, it didn't do that. The dogs can be the same size. They're not arranged in the same way because style reference that only picks up the visual stuff. It's hard to say because visual, you think, oh shit, well, composition is visual. So doesn't it pick up the composition? No, not really. It strives not to. It strives not to pick up anything about the form or the composition. Um, it strives to pick up only uh, color and visual characteristics, like the fact that it's flat and limited color palette and has a particular cartoon style and so on. So if I do this more detailed prompt with the style reference, show you that. So you can see that the style reference, the prompt adherence it goes down when you add these things. That's really what I want you to note. What if I did raw? Now I'm taking Midjourney style out of the way, right? And so theoretically, my SREF should be more powerful. Well, yeah, maybe. This certainly is high prompt adherence right there. Higher than these. What if I also took style to 0? Now, none of these are the way Midjourney would have you increase the influence of your style reference. I'm just showing you the workarounds. Other ways. Hey, that's pretty cool. Low prompt adherence, but wow, that style look how flat it got. That style is really, really, really powerful now. The mom and her kids style. Definitely an increase in style power. But the way Midjourney would have you do it, just to go back to the original, is to increase SW, that style weight. I forget if it's 1,000 or 100. It's 1,000. So this is maximizing the style. So let me show you the difference. This right here, this grid right here, this is if I leave the style weight at default, guys, but I'm minimizing Midjourney's interference with it. This, on the other hand, is leaving Midjourney's stuff at its default, but maximizing the style itself. I have a pig. I don't know what else can establish this point to you more clearly than that. Where's my prompt? What happened? Well, I'll go back to what I said before. Do you remember when I said that just laughing at this pig. Remember when I said that our jobs take a set amount of time on the server? We're buying minutes, right? And so when I maximize stylize, I'm asking Midjourney, I'm saying, Midjourney, I want this, excuse me, when I maximize style weight, I want this style, I want you to spend a lot of time making sure that this image matches the style reference. So Midjourney says, okay, I'm going to spend most of your time on that. And it didn't spend a whole lot of time on my prompt. I ran out of time to make it look like my prompt. So what if I do raw stylize 0 and my style weight at maximum? And I've got a very specific prompt. Can I get better prompt adherence and maximal style? There's no prompt adherence here, or very low prompt adherence here. What if I just, my style weight could go, what if I just put my style weight at 500? Okay, you see all these experiments I'm doing, right? You're hoping that I'm coming up with a rule for you that, I see. So what I should do is use style raw, SW default, stylize here, da da da. You cannot decide that this is a rule for you. because if I change it from dogs to something else, the rule will change. Because it depends on how powerful your prompt, the how well represented is the thing that you're prompting for. This is pretty good. This one right here, getting one in 4. That's not bad. But if I change it from 3 dogs to I don't know what's bizarre, 3 um tieflings. How do I spell that? 3 tieflings at a bar. Tieflings, which are a Dungeons and Dragons race, that look like devils. There we go. These are not as well represented as dogs. So, what's going to happen? We don't even have horns on this one. The horns here are not coherent, nor here. These don't have the right color skin. These are dudes. So maybe that's an obscure example, but that's the thing. The more obscure your topic, your content, the more the rules are going to change for what your parameters should be set to, if your goal is prompt adherence. So what's nice is that you're able to see this evolution of style. And if you're doing something completely generic, like a floral motif, what's called an open-ended prompt. I didn't tell it what floral is or what motif to use. Then you'll see, now you're seeing the style expressed without reference to any content that is specific. There's no prompt adherence to worry about, right? There's no prompt adherence to worry about because this prompt doesn't have any correct answer to it. What does floral look like? What does motif look like? It's very open-ended. So then I can start playing with maximizing the style and minimizing Midjourney's default styles. And this is a great way to explore style. It's that open-ended prompt that unlocks the exploration for you, right? Because otherwise you're sitting there sweating. Well, are they a sheepdog? Is it really a tiefling? This is a very nice way. The open-ended prompting is a nice way to start exploring style without worrying about prompt adherence, which is very important for many people. So, any questions about style reference and style weight? If you have no questions, type NQ and no questions. If you do have questions, but you're just not sure what to say, you can tell me that too. Like, look, I have to think about this. I don't know what my questions are yet. Style weight goes to 1,000. So those are 2 ways to bring in an existing style from your own reference image. Let's see. Walking cane inspired by Beau's design language. Minimal and elegant form, soft rectilinear lines with smooth, rounded transitions. Monolithic silhouette. I wonder what that is. Matte black body with aluminum accents, satin and soft touch finishes, calm and refined aesthetic. Photographed in soft studio light, product render design, high detail. Okay. So the left one was your style reference and the right one was your cane. Are you happy with the output? Yes. So there's style reference in action. You're welcome. See, now you should fill out that form. Now that you're happy, you should definitely fill out the feedback form. Excellent. There's more. We're not quite done. We have like another 15 minutes of stuff. Oh, goodness. So not only can you bring in styles from the outside, as I just showed you, but you can also build your own aesthetics using Midjourney's personalization profiles and mood board tools. Has anyone here used profiles or mood boards before? Show of hands. I have used them before. Yes, yes, yes. Mood boards. Oh, yes, says Johnny. Tried it, but no clue what I was doing. Aha. Well, that might actually work for you, Gray. It didn't really work, says Jensky. Ah, ha, ha. Well, let's talk about that. I am waving my all around. Okay. So a personalization profile in Midjourney is a persistent aesthetic baseline that you create. It's derived from your rankings of image pairs. It generates a unique style tied to your account. So let's look at that. Clicking on personalize and teach Midjourney about what you find beautiful. Let's see. Midjourney says, inside every prompt are unspoken details. Midjourney will try to fill these in a way that makes the image most compelling for the entire community. But your tastes are unique. Do you like cute animals or fearless fantasy creatures? Buildings, old and rugged, or sleek and modern? Profiles help Midjourney get to know you and shape images toward what you love. Okay. That is one way to understand it. I have a slightly more technical way of understanding it. Again, this persistent aesthetic baseline. So how do you create this? I'm sure you guys have created profiles before. Just come in here and click, and it'll give you options. You can say, I like the more vintagey one better. I like do you like the profile better or the 2/3 look? Do you like the blue better or the green? There's lots of differences between those two. So you just go through and actually, you know what? I need to report this because it's the enterprise. Okay. So as you do this, it will gradually put together a profile for you. Yeah, Kirkbrand, look again. I'm clicking personalize here. And then I'm clicking, I've already created a profile, so I'm clicking on my profile. And now I'm refining that profile. I can also create a new profile. Most people don't create multiple profiles. And that's okay. There are two mood boards and profiles. Let me put it this way. Mood boards and profiles both use the P parameter. Looks like this. FYI for the newbies, you can have multiple profiles, but it's not required. Oh yeah, I just said that. Most people don't make multiple profiles. You can. The reason why you'd want to is because profiles work differently than mood boards, which work differently from SREFs. So you're going to have profiles, mood boards, and SREFs. Oh my. These are ways, the profiles and mood boards you build, the SREFs you select from an existing style. Are mood boards like miniature profiles? Maybe. I'm not sure it's the same app. Like when you use -p, you're triggering Midjourney to run an app to do stuff. And I'm not sure. It's possible that when it looks at a mood board code, it runs a different app than if it looks at a profile code. And so they're doing things different. It's also possible that since it's -p, so it's doing the same thing, but profiles are a mood board you've created through ranking, and mood boards are something you've created by just adding images. Right? So if you imagine you're making a mood board, every one of these you pick goes into your invisible mood board, which we call a profile. But you can also build a mood board. Right? Like this is Sadie and I took a road trip and took a bunch of pictures out the window of our car. This was about a year ago. And I made a mood board of it. So now when if I want to use this mood board, I can say three dogs again. And it'll render those 3 dogs with respect to that mood board. Now, what does the mood board pick up? The mood board is not just aesthetic, it's also semantic. This is possibly a tough concept for people. But semantic means that it understands a lot about the images. It understands the era, the media, the location, the time of day, the socioeconomic implications, everything. Sadie's laughing, but it's true. I mean, if you look at the socioeconomic reality of these interiors and exteriors, they respect the mood board, which shows a bunch of socioeconomically challenged Texas towns, right? And I use this mood board in particular to try to get that across to people. That mood boards are entire semantic channels. Which is why, Jensky, it's hard to figure out how to use them. Because you'd think that if I just made, a mood board of coloring pages, then I would just get coloring pages. Whoops. No. That I just get coloring pages when I use it. Will I necessarily get only coloring pages? I did. Okay, well, I've done it before in this when I was preparing for this class, I did 3 dogs and I did not get coloring pages. One of them was not a coloring page. Because what it was picking up on is not just the coloring page stuff, but also, um, the fact that it was a children's book illustration in general. So I got a colored the normal children's book illustration. So if I like this one, you'd think that I would get these watercolor look. Whoops, keep clicking the wrong thing. Do I get just watercolor looks? Maybe they fixed it. I did. Guys, maybe they fixed it. Johnny, look at this. I haven't tried this in a while, but before when I was doing this, it would seem to choose from one of these rather than blending them together. So the fact that there were some that didn't look like watercolors like this meant that I would get back, like, this doesn't look quite like a watercolor. Meant that sometimes in my grid, I would get one that didn't look like a watercolor, even though the vast majority were watercolors. But this is way more balanced. So, Jensky, this is going to look a lot more, it should work more like you expect if they tweaked it behind the scenes. What it won't do is give you composition. So I created a mood board where, as you can see, the man and the women, the man is always standing behind the woman, right? And in most of them, he's holding her tummy. But always the man behind the woman, the man behind the woman. So if I say, you know, uh, a woman and a man stand in a ballroom, and I use this mood board, the idea is that it would copy the composition because the mood board, you want to use it that way. You say, like, look, I've made a mood board with there's nothing but this composition present. And it didn't. It borrowed from the era, it borrowed from the photographic style, it borrowed it picked up on the intimacy, it picked up on the decor. It did all kinds of things, but it did not pick up the composition. So let's look at the cartoony idea, Jensky. Um, see if I have a cartoon. Oh, the other thing it doesn't pick up is you can't do consistent faces. Like, this is all clearly the same character, right? But if I use this mood board and I say, uh, a man wearing red glasses, it won't pick up his face. Hey, Twist. These are obviously not the same guy. This one might be close by accident. No, no, it's not. It also didn't pick up the style, which was a cartoon. These are photographic, and nothing in the mood board was photographic. Um, hand-drawn cartoon. So I'm going to try to support that in the prompt. So now the mood board has hand-drawn cartoons and the prompt says hand-drawn cartoons. Suddenly I get a lot closer. So this is because of what we call pull and pin prompting. I pulled the elements of the mood board that I wanted and pinned it to the image by putting it in the prompt. So I wanted the hand-drawn cartoon style. So I put hand-drawn cartoon in the prompt and it pulled it from the mood board and it pinned it to my image. Pull it out with the prompt, pin it to your image. So, for example, let's see, these are all stickers, right? So if I wanted a sticker based on this mood board, I might say a grid of owl stickers. So that made sure that I was taking from the mood board what I wanted to put in the final image. So Jessica, that might be the trick. Johnny has just placed the mood board video. Is there something that the mood board video covers that I haven't said, Johnny, just to help me out? Okay. Kirk says, I see images things like a green forest, but when you squint at it, it's actually the face or skull. Can you do that with Midjourney? Not really. Midjourney doesn't have that capacity. You can get close with retexture, but not really. They're not made with Midjourney. I can show you retexture. So, for example, see if I can find. Okay, here's this guy. And I could retexture him by saying an island covered in pine trees, surrounded by a pale, serene lake. And it will use the depth map of this picture, the contours of this picture, to possibly try to create an island out of him. Oh, see how he became. This is not Midjourney's strength, but you can see it trying. Let's try an aerial view of an island. There we go. Look, I got cliffs and an atoll, but it's also the guy. That's not so great, but some of them are okay. A little bit hit or miss. That's the magic of retexture right there. So why use mood boards? When you want the image to reflect a very specific aesthetic, when you're not getting style you want from prompt text alone, uh, and when combining images with a shared color story, texture, lighting, or design language. So, Gusto, you might be interested in that. Bunch of Bose things, right? In a mood board. Okay, so any questions about profiles, mood boards? I have more to tell you about SREFs. Any questions about profiles or mood boards? If you have no questions, type NQ for no questions. Or type your question, that's fine too. Okay, very good, you guys. Jensky, how are you feeling? Promptogram, Steve, Borano Cupo, Danton, Depth. Okay. Jensky, if you want to go dig up the mood board that's not working for you and give me the URL to it or the code for it, I can try seeing if I can make it go. Yeah, okay. The last lesson that I want to talk about before we just devolve into conversation, I suppose, is the magic of open-ended prompts. So you have regular prompts like 3 dogs or a white kitten sleeping on a Persian rug, right? You can test styles or explore styles with regular prompts. There's nothing stopping you. But some people will say use what's called a void prompt. A void prompt is when you just try to give Midjourney as close to nothing helpful as possible. So if I just did null, two double quotes. And when I do 2 double quotes, Midjourney is looking at the latent space for double quotes, which doesn't have a lot of rich visual information. Could similarly just do a period or, you know, a curly brace. I don't know. Can't do a curly brace. How about a pipe? I can do a pipe. This is called void prompting, and it's not truly a void, but it is taking Midjourney, it is asking Midjourney to go get visual information to something that doesn't have a whole lot of visual information correlated to it. So Midjourney's defaults kick in and try to take care of the render for you. You can also do this, you know, if you want to see what EXP does at its maximum with a void prompt, or what does weird do. This is just a way to explore it. It's not my favorite way, but it is many people's favorite way. So there you go. You can see, I actually love looking at what weird does if you just max it out and give it no other information. Lots of birds. So my favorite way to prompt for style exploration is what I'll call open-ended prompts. Let me get an open-ended prompt. So look at this open-ended prompt. Stationary border design with motifs framing wide blank central copy space. It doesn't tell Midjourney anything about how it should look. There's no style information here. And because there's no style information, this is the in my opinion, the strongest way of getting your style, what the style you're exploring, to communicate what it will do. It's being given the instruction to create a design with motifs, but your hands off. I didn't say it was floral. I didn't say it was botanical. I didn't say it was futuristic. I didn't say anything. So I'm forcing it to make a decision. I'm forcing it to make an aesthetic decision for me. And that's what pulls out the most information you can get about the style you're exploring. So if you go to our Style Explorer, which you can go to the Explorer and then make sure you're on the Styles tab. I like looking at random. And you want to try a style. Hold on just a second. Let me run this generically so we can see what it looks like by default. So a stationary border, this is just plain old default house style. That's how it looks. And then I can go and explore. I'm going to do this style, try style, and it'll submit with the stationary border the last style that I put in, which is the one I just said. And then I have not told it anything about how to do this. But all of a sudden I can see a lot of information about the style. Now, this is not my recommended prompt at all. This is just a prompt that happens to be open-ended. What I'm recommending is not this prompt, but open-ended prompting, where you tell Midjourney to make a decision, force Midjourney to make a design decision, but don't tell it anything about what that decision should be. Don't tell it anything. So words like design, motif, a border, a scene, right? A still life. That's a great one. A still life surrounded by a frame of motifs. That's rough random. So I didn't tell it what's in the still life, and I didn't tell it anything about what the motifs should be. And I asked it for a random style. And it came up with lemons and butterflies. So that's a great expression of what this style 1691648 does. Yeah, we could also use, let's try it with the mood board. That's a great idea. So I don't have to go get the mood board. Watch this, Kurt. I'm clicking P, drop-down menu. And now I'm finding the mood board I wanted, which is the Texas Highway. So what does my stationery look like with the Texas Highway profile? See how it completed to the readable Texas Highway? Oh, it's also with my V7 global profile. I want to turn that off. I didn't need to do that. Personalize off, but mood board on. Okay, personalize off, mood board on. Nope, That's interesting. Personalize on. Really, it's going to do both? I don't want to do both. Hold on. Which one is this? Y58W. Okay, so this is mood board only. There we go. That's what I'm curious about. Right, exactly, Click Bear. So my Texas highway, remember I said it picks up era and style and socioeconomic and political and everything. So I've got a grungy old handkerchief napkin on a diner table. I've got some garbage, some other garbage, and some, wow, I don't know, man. It knows somehow. It's a little bit hard to put your finger on it, but it knew. So you can pick your mood boards from here. You can pick your profiles from here. You can also rate more images from here. Great way to explore styles. Again, you click explore, you click styles, and then you can do random hot. You can look at what the top month is. Like this is everyone's favorite style right now. How did it get there? It's because lots of people put a heart on it. If you put a heart on it, it goes into your likes folder, which is right here, likes. And then you can play with those. So I use this open-ended prompt. It doesn't mean you should. Design your own open-ended prompt. Swap open-ended prompts with each other. Share your favorite open-ended prompt. Sometimes something as easy as just like a design of motifs with, ornament or whatever. Maximalism. Whoops. And this is apparently doing my Texas highway. I didn't want to do that, but anyway. Wow. A design of motifs maximalism with the Texas highway stuff. This is amazing. I mean, this is so real and so surreal. That's crazy. It's crazy. I get goosebumps sometimes. Mood boards are pretty magical. Yeah, liminal as heck. Heckin' liminal. So, regular prompts, open prompts, and void prompts. Any questions about that? Let me put this in here. Any questions about exploring styles with void prompts or open prompts or regular prompts? Promptogram says, David said something about non-wording prompts. Does anybody know what he meant or what he was referring to? Non-word prompts? He probably meant void prompts. Just punctuation. Another thing that he wants to do is create something like a soundboard for Midjourney. Do you guys know what soundboards are? See if I can get pictures of soundboards. These are soundboards. So I'm going to open up this soundboard if I can. I can't. Can I open up any of these? Aha. Okay. This is just a Shutterstock soundboard, right? But when we are using Midjourney, and I tell you that EXP has 1 to 100, and Stylize has 1 to 1000, and Weird has 1 to 3000, and we didn't even talk about chaos, right? There's all these things. What you're doing is you're turning them on, right? Which is this bottom button. You're adjusting with a slider the strength of it. And then there's all kinds of other things you're doing. Like these are knobs, right? You could turn chaos up, you can turn stylize down, you can, and then you send your prompt through this thing. And, this is the output. And in this case, the output is sound. But in our case, the output is an image. And we're doing this right now without seeing a UI that shows us all of our knobs and sliders and switches. We don't see all the knobs and sliders and switches represented to us in the user interface. Not cohesively like this. Not all together like this. Mainly because they decided that if they gave us something that looked like this soundboard, we'd all blanch and run away and panic because, oh my God, it looks so complicated. So they broke it up into lots of little simple things. But once you become an advanced user, someone who's exploring styles or who's working on prompt adherence, all of a sudden you wish very much that you could just see everything together like this. And you could just, put your fingers on the sliders and just move them up and down and twist the knobs and flip the switches and just get what you want, rather than moving between a dozen different places. Right? This would be the ultimate Midjourney interface, would be something like a soundboard. So I think that this is just my guess. It is not informed by anything internal. I think that a unified soundboard-like interface where you can interact with sliders and knobs and switches, rather than trying to remember all of the million little places to go and things to do, might be a cool way to interact with images, especially Gusta, if it was real time. Like imagine you had the soundboard at the bottom and the image at the top. And as you change the sliders and twisted these knobs, your image actually changed in real time in front of you. So you could degree by degree, turn up stylize, degree by degree, turn down weird, degree by degree, turn up the mood board, and wait until it looks just like how you like. Yeah, when is the release date? This is just my proposal. This is my guess. It is possible that I'm wrong and that they think that a soundboard is too overwhelming. Because look at these things. A soundboard metaphor, right, might be too overwhelming. I don't think so. It looks pretty scary, but once you know what all these things are on a soundboard, if you've ever done this before, it's not scary at all, actually, in my own opinion. But that's just me. That's Clarinet. That is not Midjourney per se. I think this metaphor would be great. I would really like to just be able to do that, especially if I could see the changes in real time, and just hit a commit button when I've hit the right combo. Otherwise, I'm just constantly comparing images. You saw what I did just to teach the class. How many images did we have to go through to sort of guess what the difference is between X and Y? We had to just do one row after another to see the progressions. Why not do this in real time? So that's my guess, Pontagran. I have added my dog to the upper right up there. If you would like to look at my dog. There she is. I can give her a treat. Who wants me to give her a treat? Kirk Bear, should I give this treat to her from you? Okay, this is from Kirk Bear. This is from Kirk Bear. Oh, yes. Oh, delicious. Johnny, do you want her to give her a treat? This is from Johnny. You want to come up to the camera? Jenny, get up. Come up to the camera. Come on, come on, come on. Yes. Good girl. Give her the whole box. I don't think so. Okay, lie down. Lay down again. Good girl. There we go. Okay, one more. Who's this from? This is from Gusta. This is from Gusta. Yeah. Okay. She is a very good girl. Here, shake. Shake. You're not going to shake? There you go. Good girl. You're welcome. We are at the end of Prompting for Beginners. We have learned so much today about style exploration. I would like to leave you with the Tally feedback form. If you put your email address in this, you will at some point receive a digital freebie, which is likely to be a PDF with the points made in this class. So please fill out the form if you're into that. I'm not sure when it will come. It will come as soon as I can coordinate internally to get it mailed. It will also, by the way, look like phishing mail when it reaches you. It is not phishing. Just look, it'll come from ops@midjourney.com. Like that. That's Owl Personal Service. Owl Postal Service @midjourney.com. You can always reach me there. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen, for our style exploration. This is the first edition of the style exploration class. So please do let me know either in chat or in the form what went well and what you wish we'd spend more time on. I forgot to go over chaos, for example. So I'll have to add that in there. Making a note to myself. See you next time. That's an excellent question. I am so sorry I didn't say so sooner. We do have a calendar, Gusta. I'm so glad you got here even by accident. This calendar should reflect the Discord calendar. Should be about the same. And the nice thing about this calendar is you can sign up and it'll send you reminders, which is fun. So glad you enjoyed buttered toast. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. So, what else do we have going on today? As you can see, and this will show in your time zone, we do have prompt battles starting in an hour and a half, 1.5 hours from now. So definitely, let's see if I can paste it in so you can get it in your own time zone. It's super, super educational, even though it's not explicitly an educational event. It does challenge you to write a bunch of different prompts for different reasons. So I definitely, they are different than this session. Everyone is on microphone, Kirk Bear, and everyone takes turns telling other people what to prompt. Yeah, yeah, it can be fun. I'm not always able to show up for it, but it can definitely be fun. Most of the people you see in the room right now are going to be there too, because we're big nerds. And we all like to go nerd out about Midjourney over there. Okay, have a great weekend, everyone. We are adjourned. We are adjourned.